Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio with you. Jim Coyle here, joined now by our good friend Matt Taylor, the voice of the Colts. And, man, we're deep into all kinds of football season now, Matt. Even seems like the NFL just started, but they're, 5 weeks in. The high schools are nearing the end of the line and started getting close to the playoffs. College football at the halfway mark already. And the Colts, man, they're right there. They've had so many injuries to the offense with AR going down, Jonathan Taylor, and then Michael Pittman Jr., the latest blow. But ironically, Joe Flacco is doing a superb job. He did all that he could do against Jacksonville. And unfortunately, the defense gave up the ghost. But the offense has been playing well, especially when you consider how much they've been decimated.
Yeah, these injuries on both sides of the ball, really concerning. You have this many key injuries this early on in the season, right? You talked about quarterback and star running back, and now Michael Pittman Jr. might be out for an extended period of time. And then the defense has already been down a couple of key players for a while now in the last couple of weeks without DeForest Buckner, Kwity Paye, Kenny Moore, Tyquan Lewis was put on IR. So, the depth is really being tested here early on in the season, and guys are stepping up, but you're still 2-3, and you have a huge game coming up on Sunday against Tennessee, trying to avoid an 0-3 start to the season within the division, which I think if you start 0-3 inside the AFC South, it's going to be pretty tough, honestly, to win the division with already 3 losses with, still plenty of AFC South games still to go. I think it's going to be tough. Last year, Houston won the AFC South, but they were 4-2 record-wise in the AFC South, and they're already 2-0 in the division so far this year. So this is a huge pivotal game coming up on Sunday down in Tennessee. I think Anthony Richardson is trending towards playing. But yeah, Joe Flacco, like you said, came in, steadied the ship, and the Colts squandered an opportunity to win a football game where they scored 34 points with a backup.
Absolutely. And not only, you mentioned the division in which they've already played a few of those. Behind the Titans, was it 2 weeks after the Titans? You've got the second game with Houston.
Yeah, the month of October is brutal for the Colts in terms of, logistics. 4 out of 5 on the road, 3 on the road, 3 straight on the road against AFC South teams, right? Jacksonville last week, Tennessee this week, and then the next road game for the Colts is going to be October 27th, I believe, against the Houston Texans. And then you play after that another road game against the undefeated Minnesota Vikings, who are coming out of nowhere and having a really good season. So that just goes to show you that it's the NFL, man. Week to week, you have no idea what to expect. And some of the teams that, were anticipated to be being bad are good, and vice versa. So injuries play a lot into it. But, yeah, this is a huge, I think, pivotal stretch for the Colts. Starting the month, I don't know if it was a make or break stretch for the Colts, but it was a really important one to see where they were at the end of it in terms of how viable they're going to be for the playoffs and how much margin of error they have going into the months of November and December.
Yeah, and this is a kind of a make or break year for the Colts. I know that there's only so much we could talk about there, but and it's not. I mean, Shane Steichen seems to put together good plans, good game plans. It doesn't look like they have issues with game plans, but there's definitely things they're going to have to improve and improve quickly this season, whether they make the playoffs or not, because they're kind of getting into this spinning your wheels in the mud routine.
Well, you're right. I mean, this is a really big year for the Colts. They haven't made the playoffs since 2020. They haven't won the division since 2014. AFC South games. And there's just too much talent on this roster to not be competing for significant things this year. And the reality is, when you're 2-3 and you've had this many injuries, you can say what you want, but there's still a boatload of the season left to play, and they're still in the mix in the AFC. I think there's going to be some wild card teams that have less records than they did a year ago because of the parity in the conference nowadays. So they have everything in front of them still. But you're right. I mean, you're trying to win, but also develop a young quarterback in Anthony Richardson, and in playing him, despite Joe Flacco's consistency and, like you said, his ability to give the Colts a great chance to win. And quite frankly, they won a game against the Pittsburgh Steelers where he came in and guided the ship and provided some consistency on offense. And they should have won last week. The defense let them down. There's no doubt about that, right? When you score 34 points on the road with a backup, you should win a football game, but that didn't happen. But they're trying to win and also develop a young quarterback in Anthony Richardson. And you have to be willing to go through the speed bumps of a guy when you draft him 4th overall that has as little experience as he did coming out of college. Plus you factor in last year, misses 13 games with that injury. You're going to have to be willing to go through some of the speed bumps. And, I likened it, I'm an Indy guy, you're a Bloomington guy, so you'll understand this. I likened it to I-69, right? I-69, there's a lot of traffic, there's construction, there's some stop and go, but you know what? Once it's done, it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's smooth sailing. And that's what the Colts are trying to do with Anthony Richardson. That's the point they're trying to get here with a young quarterback that's trying to figure out the NFL, go through these mistakes and get that initial speed bump out of the way with him getting all this experience right out of the gate. And hopefully he turns into one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL with all that he can do with his dynamic playmaking ability.
Great analogy there. It's actually perfect. I would have never thought it that way, but you could not have said it better. I'm telling you, because buddy, all the way you're just flying, and then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, hey, what's this? 3rd and 80?
Right. Why are we down to one lane here all of a sudden,
Yeah, and then you come out of it and it's like going through one of those wrecks where you're like, where the hell's the wreck?
Up by me, it's taken over 465. So I-69 and 465 are open, but it's a little choppy, right? There's a lot of stop and go. There's orange barrels everywhere. But once it's done and it's fully open and everything's full bore, 4 or 5 lanes abreast, man, then I think you're going to be humming. And again, I think that's where Anthony Richardson's trying to get to.
Absolutely. So we'll look forward to that. And Matt will be on the call. Love watching. There's going through to pull out some pictures of you for our thumbnails and stuff we make. There was one I wanted to use where you're in the booth signaling the touchdown, baby. And I'm like, that's a great picture, but I wasn't able to use that one. But
why the hell not?
Well, I couldn't get all the background out, but and it wasn't quite as clear. But I'll look at it again. Maybe I'll do some Photoshop on it. And
there you go.
And make you look like Gene Simmons or something.
Even better.
Lots of college games, man. And I know you're a fan of, you don't get to follow it as much as you'd like because of always preparing for what you do, but getting a chance sometimes to check it out. The Big Ten this year is now the Big 18, I guess you could call it. And buddy, you realize how big 18 is when you go to basketball media days and they do it all in one day. That was that was a gauntlet. But this weekend, Northwestern plays Maryland tonight. I think that's going to be a good game, personally. Northwestern's quarterback took a big jump last week after having a bye week against Indiana. He performed pretty well. So, and Maryland is kind of the same boat, although it's at Maryland. I think that's going to be a good game, although Maryland's a 10.5 point favorite. Washington travels to Iowa, another huge game because for Indiana fans, Washington is comes up after the Hoosiers play Nebraska. So that's going to be something to keep an eye on. Hoosier fans would rather Washington wins. So if Indiana does so, it makes that win look better. Wisconsin traveling to Rutgers. I think Rutgers is going to get back on the winning side. But Purdue goes to USC, Matt, and that is a huge game. USC is they've got 2 losses already, and Penn State is undefeated, but they haven't really played anyone. Illinois. I take that back. Illinois is a very good team.
It's so weird to see now that we're in the era of transfer portal and NIL. I saw the matchup pop up the other day. You said Rutgers is playing Wisconsin this weekend. Is that correct? I thought I saw that.
Wisconsin travels to Piscataway.
7-8 years ago, you would have said, all right, Wisconsin's favored by 3 touchdowns.
Yes.
And now, and I think I'm discrediting the amount of work and the stability that Schiano has provided Rutgers in that program.
And
but
he has.
That being said, it's so weird to look at some of these historical matchups and now you say, well, that's going to be a pretty close game between Northwestern and Iowa, whereas again, 7-8 years ago, you would have said Iowa wins that game by, 28 points or so. And it's just amazing to me how much the gap has been closed with teams' ability to, change the roster with the transfer portal, offer people to come in and entice kids to come to your program with the money now. And I mean, IU football is the poster child for that, right? With what they're doing with Kurt Cignetti. So just on a more micro level with IU football, because they're the Big Ten team that I actually carve out time to watch. It's fascinating to me as a Schlep Rock IU fan historically to watch these games the last 6 weeks. And I think it's already kind of been beaten out of me. Hopefully I'm wrong about this. I'm knocking on wood here, and hopefully I'm not proven incorrect. But I think it's already being drilled out of me to expect Indiana football to beat itself. They're not doing that under Kurt Cignetti, right? That's always what you waited for watching IU football historically, no matter who the coach was, no matter what the regime in charge was. And it was always just wait for the first sign of major adversity, and then Indiana's going to wilt, and then they're going to fold, and then the avalanche is really going to start to pile on, and that just doesn't happen with this team. And it's crazy to me that the turnover margin is so in favor. The penalties are down. The stupid mistakes seemingly never happen. They're so well organized. They're so put together. They don't beat themselves. It is just so refreshing to watch the football team that you root for, and to have it be as competent as it is. And they haven't trailed all season. I know the schedule's not all that crazy, but how many football teams of the past in IU lore would have this schedule and already have 2-3 losses?
Absolutely.
Right? That Maryland game, they never win that Maryland game in the past, right? Last week they probably would have had more trouble with Northwestern 2-3 years ago than they did this year. So it's been so refreshing to watch IU football and to see them be the better team every week, the more disciplined team, and the team that just doesn't make mistakes, doesn't beat itself.
And not only that, when people look at the Big Ten statistics offensively, Indiana's Curtis Rourke, the top quarterback in the league, ahead of names like Dylan Gabriel and Ohio State's quarterback.
Well, let me give you an example. Let me give you an example. I don't know what year it was. This is probably and this is going back way back. Let's 2009, 2010. IU's at Iowa, and IU would always in big road games like that, when they're playing above themselves, so to speak, historically, right? When they're at Iowa, they're at Ohio State, at Michigan, they're always going to hang in there for 3.5 quarters, and then just the roof's going to cave in. And I don't know what year it was again, but IU is at Iowa, and they're up most of the game. Iowa comes back, they tie the game, and then IU's got the ball. The place is going crazy. They're trying to set up a screen. Iowa defends it really well, and the quarterback for Indiana just tries to dirt the ball, to avoid taking a sack and go on. Offensive lineman, it hits off the offensive lineman's heel, bounces up into the air, and then it's caught by a defensive lineman by Iowa, and they run it back for a pick six, 60 yards. That is so IU football. Right? That is only those types of things happen to IU football historically, and they're just not happening under Kurt Cignetti because I think they're better coached, and hopefully the football gods are on their side after decades of anguish.
Yeah, I just think about what they've accomplished already. And I know that we've kind of beat this a little bit with others, but I haven't gotten to talk to you about it. But you look at it differently. You see professional football every week. You see,
Oh
you
God.
know what
Oh
the
God.
different levels.
It is so sophisticated. I mean, Jim, it is so sophisticated. The offensive concepts, the player discipline, guys being in the right place at the right time, and just the little things, right? This is going to sound silly, but you don't see guys running on the field late because they don't know they're not supposed to be in, or vice versa, right? You don't have personnel miscues. How many times this year have you seen the quarterback just point at a receiver like you're supposed to be here, no, not over there, right? It is so sophisticated, and competent is the right word. And competent is probably underselling it. But after the last couple of years, culture, accountability, buy-in. You looked at shots of the players on TV over the last couple of years on the sidelines. They don't look like they want to be there. They don't look like they're bought in. Guys' jerseys and shirts are untucked. They kind of look ragtag. It is a professional outfit right now. And that is a 30,000 foot view of things too.
Yeah, it's crazy, but that's what happens when you do things and you do them the right way. And Kurt Signetti is, well, we'll find out how this story ends. But right now, it's looking pretty damn good. Indiana, if they end up in the Big Ten championship, that just going to, I don't know, that to me that just smashes anything that's ever happened in college football. You taking the legitimately worst D1 program in history with the most losses amongst all D1 teams, one of the worst winning percentages amongst all D1 teams that has had one winning non-COVID season in 15 years, and you take them from 3-9 and 1-8 to what they could be.
Jim, I've always said there's no excuse for Indiana football to be as bad as they have historically been at football, right? They've got all the money coming in from the Big Ten. They got the facilities. There's been buy-in from the leadership seemingly down there, right? The investment in football with facilities. There's been no reason why Indiana football can't be Wisconsin. They can't be Iowa or Michigan State. And by that, I mean you go to a bowl game every year. You're consistently winning 7, 8 games every year. And then once every 5, 6 years, you have a roster where you can do something really special, right? Play on New Year's Day. Nowadays, with the expanded playoff system, make the playoffs every couple of years. There's no reason for that. There's been no reason for that. And Kurt Signetti is living proof that, what does he always say? There's going to be no self-imposed limitations. He's exactly right about that. There's no reason Indiana football can't be those teams historically. And in 1 year, he's proving that thought by me right. There's no doubt about that.
And he always talks about playing to a standard. And that is a standard that he has brought in and he has held everyone to, the players, the coaches, even the fans. So, and it is all getting there. Looking forward to it. Big game of the weekend, Ohio State and Oregon, because they're both ranked in the top 5. I don't know that I've seen them do anything yet that sells me on them being in the top 5, but they are what they are, and we'll certainly see who takes kind of the reins as the leader of the Big Ten.
Yeah, I know nothing about those two teams. I haven't seen them play all year. So it's going to be a great matchup. There's no doubt about that. It's going to be fun to watch. But I think as it relates to IU's schedule, who is Ohio State beating? I know they beat Iowa last week, but everybody's talking about and trying to discredit Indiana's success so far. I mean, who the hell has Ohio State topped?
No one of note, not yet. That's why I'm saying I go, neither one of these teams have done anything. And so we'll see. But I hope you have a great weekend. Enjoy it. And what do you get to do on Saturday? See, this is a home game, right?
Road game. Yeah.
Oh, you're on the road. Oh, down in Nashville. Oh, well.
Yeah.
Don't get hit with a goalpost.
Try not to. Yeah. Yeah, they were booking. They went like 6 miles down the road. They made good time.
Dude, got to lift it all up over the police cars and everything, all the traffic on Broadway. That was a cool, wild scene, but mind-boggling to see number 1 Alabama.
Where would so if Indiana one day beats Ohio State at home, Ohio State is ranked number 1 or top
You can't.
5.
I can already stop
Where
you. You can't get the damn goalpost out of the stadium.
All right, well, hypothetically though, if they could, where are they taking it? Are they going down to Lake Monroe down by you? Like, where's the nearest body of water?
They would not search for water. They would probably take it to maybe the site of where the old stadium used to be, and plant it in the ground. I don't know. That's a great question, because I kind of thought of that. I'm like, what the hell would they do with it? First of all, it would be very. They couldn't get it out of the stadium without breaking it in pieces, and it would have to go up the stairs. There's no way out anymore. So, but wouldn't that be fun just to see him tear the goalpost down? I know that Vanderbilt had to pay like $100,000. Do you think they cares? They couldn't have bought that kind of advertising for $1 million.
Oh yeah, I can guarantee you the applications now to Vanderbilt are up 30%.
Matt Taylor, appreciate you, my friend, and have a great broadcast. We'll be watching for the Colts, hoping for a win.
All right, man. Thanks as always. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you. Matt Taylor joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio.